Hi everyone, this is Rachel at StudioUs with another at-home drawing tutorial for you guys. We're keeping our Cinco de Mayo celebrations going with one of my favorite Mexican artists, Frida Kahlo, so we'll learn how to draw a portrait of her. Grab your materials and we'll get started. We're going to start with a blank piece of paper as well as a drawing pencil, a Sharpie marker, and a large pink eraser to clear off all our pencil lines. To start out, I'm going to find the vertical and horizontal center, and for this one I'm actually going to give myself a tiny little dot to remind myself where that spot is. From there I want to center the face, so I'm going to look at how far down it comes, mark out a line there. I'm going to mark out my sides. I see that they kind of come in about the same distance as the top of the head comes in, so I'm going to use that as a guide. And then going up a little farther from the bottom, I'm going to mark out the bottom of the chin. From there, I'm going to start dotting out my head shape. The top is kind of evenly curved, so we get a nice oval shape, whereas the bottom we get lines going pretty much straight down and then coming in to make that chin. So they come down straight for a little bit and then go into a point. Once we've got that all dotted out, go ahead and draw it in. For our next step, we're going to draw in the neck and shoulders. So I'm going to mark where I see the neck connecting to the head and where I see the shoulders connecting to the bottom of the page. And then we've got this kind of S curve that switches back. So it comes down, goes flat, and then curves back out. So we'll dot those in, making sure they're pretty even. They don't have to be exact. No one's shoulders are exactly the same size and place every time they stand. Once we've got them dotted out, we can sketch them in. Next, we're going to add in Frida's hair. So looking for about the midpoint on the face, I want to go up just a little bit to mark out where that hair comes down to. Now I've got one piece kind of going across the center, so she's got a little bit of a left side part there. So we're going to bring it across from the center into the left a little bit, and then scoop it down from the top of that hair. Next, we'll get in this awesome updo. So I'm going to start with the biggest piece of hair up at the top of her head, and then kind of bring those bumps down all the way down to about her chin. Same on the other side, bringing those all the way down, almost to the bottom of like where her chin starts. And we've got our hair ready to go. We've got some texture lines here to add in a nice shawl for her. So I'm going to mark out where I see those lines starting, ending, and wherever they cross over a line for a shoulder. Sketch those in. Alright, next we've got the necklace. This one looks pretty complicated, but it's actually a little easy. So we're going to start right in the middle with that center bead. And then we're going to keep drawing the beads kind of curving up toward where her neck hits her shoulder. They get a little bit smaller every time. And notice that they're not complete circles. Each one kind of staggers behind the one in front of it. So I'm just drawing a semicircle coming off each one, curving up to where her neck hits her shoulder, and then a couple little bumps going around the back of her neck. I'm going to do that on the right side first, working out from the center, and then go on to the left side and do the same thing, starting at the center and working my way left and up around to the back of her neck. So by starting in the center, it's easy to kind of build these things off of each other. Whereas if you started from the left side, you'd have to do like a partial line and then a partial circle and try to get it just right. It's easier always to start with the thing in front and then work your way back. A little bit of erasing to clear out the lines from her shoulders going through the shawl and the necklace. We'll also clear out the line for the top of her head that will be covered up by her hair. Always do a really good job with the erasing, that way we clean out any extra pencil lines we don't want to use, and that'll keep you from having mistakes with the Sharpie later on down the road. Alright, so we're going to set up the centers for the flowers in her hair. I'm just going to use the bumps on her hair to help me orient where these circles should go. So this one's kind of right at the top, right above her part. This one's a little to the right of the bump at the top of her head. This one's a little bit low, that bump in her hair. So you can use the little points on the hair to help you figure out where those bumps go. And from there we can draw on our first layer of flowers. I want to keep these pretty small because we've got another layer coming around. And on pieces like this one, I'm looking for where it comes out of the hair a little bit, or how close it gets to the edges on the other ones. And notice we're not doing all 5, we're just getting 4 and leaving the far left one alone for now. We'll build that one up in a second. We've got our flowers in. So for the center flower and the one to the left of that, we're going to start building out the exterior flowers around, so they just kind of stay the same shape but get a little bigger going around the first flower we drew in there. If you need a little extra room and your flowers need to overlap, that's totally fine. Next, we're going to add in the outer layer of flower to the one right from the center. And on the far left one, we're going to finally add in that little middle flower part. Since it tucks in behind the one next to it, we didn't want to draw it in just yet. Otherwise, we'd have a lot of erasing to do. It's kind of tricky with all those close together lines. Alright, and we'll finish up the outer layer of flowers on the 2 flowers on the edge of her hair. And then we'll have that nice classic Frida Kahlo flower crown look going. And where the lines from her hair overlap with those exterior flowers, we're going to erase those out so we just have the flowers in front of her hair. There's just a couple little lines on the edges that kind of go into the flowers, so we'll clear those out. Alright, next step, we're adding in the ears and the eyes. So I'm going to get the ears first. They line up right with the corner of her hair. And I want to try to keep them about the same length. And looking at the eyes, I see that the bottoms of the eyes kind of line up a little bit above where the ears end, and the tops of the eyes line up almost exactly with where the ears at the top connect with the head. So I'm going to give myself a couple very light lines to help me keep these eyes the same height and size, and then just sketch those in. trick with eyes is you always want one eye width between the eyes that you draw. I'm going to measure the first eye I drew, make sure I've got one eye width between them, and then draw on my next one, making sure my lines are about the same length there as well. Alright, now that we've got the outline for our eyes in, we can draw in the details on the eyes. So we're getting those exterior circles, and then the little shine bit and the pupil as well. And it's the same trick with the necklace for this one. We draw that whole circle first, and then draw the circle behind it after that. That allows us to stack those up without having to worry about drawing a partial circle. So next I'm going to spot where my nose starts and where her eyebrows kind of connect. Sketch my nose in first, looking at how far down it comes past the eyes. A good guide for that is it kind of lines up with the bottom of the hair. And from there we can sketch in those famous eyebrows of hers. Looking good. So we're going to draw in the start for her smile. It kind of splits the difference between the bottom of the nose and her chin. And we can get those earring details as well. So 3 little dots and then a butterfly at the bottom. And we'll do the same on the other side. Not sure why the butterfly is only partially showing up on that one, but it'll come in on the next slide, so we'll go ahead and get it now. Alright, adding in some lips. So using that center line on the face, we're going to get the little cupid's bow at the top of her top lip. Coming in from the sides, kind of curving up and around to shape out the top lip. And then for the bottom lip, it's just a nice curve that's kind of flat at the bottom. And there we go, we've got our Frida Kahlo drawing ready to go. Grab your Sharpie, go ahead and go over all your Sharpie lines, and then we'll get to work coloring. All right, with our Sharpie lines all done, you can go ahead and grab an eraser, clear off all your pencil lines, and we'll get started with the color. So we're going to take a green and carefully outline all the way around the outside of Frida to set up our background. All right, finishing up the green for that background. We'll take the lightest blue marker that we've got, and we're going to get the highlights on the beads on her necklace. So these are just a little curve going around the top edge of each bead to set up that lightest blue that you see. After that, I'll grab a yellow, and looking for the lightest spots on her shawl, I'm going to set up that light yellow highlight color. So I'm just going over the lightest edges. I don't want to color in the whole thing just yet. Just want to get those little highlights. I can also use this yellow to get the light highlight edges along the yellow parts of our flowers. So notice I'm just going around the outside edge on those. After that, I'll take a golden yellow, and this is the color we're going to use to color in the rest of Frida's shawl. So I'm careful to work around those beads and not to go over my yellow highlight colors. And I'll use that same color to fill in the inside of the yellow parts on our flowers to finish that up. Next, I'll go in with a darker blue and color in the rest of the beads. At this point, I can also get the blue beads on her earrings. going to grab a beige color and get the highlights on her skin. So looking for that lightest light tan color on just the edges of her face and ear. After that, I'm going to grab my next darkest tan. I think for this one I'm using gold and beige. I'm going to outline my highlights and then color in the rest of her skin. Taking that same color, I'm going to add in the highlights on Frida's hair. So looking for the lightest light brown areas and coloring those in. After that, we can grab a regular brown, color in the rest of her hair, and we can also get the shadows on her face as well. Finishing up the shadows on Frida's face, we'll go ahead and get her eyebrows too. Taking our light golden brown, we're going to get the highlight in her eye and then use the brown to get the rest of her eye color. Kind of finish up all those browns we're working with here. And then taking a black, I can color in the pupil of her eye and get any shadows on her eyebrows or her hair, anywhere that's a little bit darker than the darkest brown. right, looking good. We're gonna get a light pink to add the highlights on her lips. And then we'll take a red, color in the rest of her lips, working around those highlights. And we can go ahead and get the red beads on her earrings and the wings on the butterflies. Grab a yellow, get the centers of the butterflies. And I'm going to take a raspberry color and add just a little bit of shadow along the bottom of her lip and where the top and the bottom lip meet. Alright, now we've got to grab some pinks. I'm just kind of taking a second here to grab all the pinks I've got in my little collection of markers so that we can play around with some colors and get these flowers colored in. So I'm going to start with a hot pink. For my center flower, I'm going to outline my edges. Then after that, I'm going in with a red. Let's make that a raspberry actually. It's a little darker than a red. And I'm going to color in the rest of that outer edge on my center flower. Next, I'm going to take, I think this is called Wild Orchid. It's kind of a red purple. Get a little shadow just on the center edges. From there, I'm taking Coral Pink, getting the edges of my center flower. And I'm going to get the outside edges on the other two flowers that we haven't put any color on yet. After that, going in with a pink, filling in the rest of the edges on those flowers where we put the coral on the outside. Grabbing a hot pink, I'm coloring in the center flowers on my two yellow flowers. Bumped my elbow on the camera real quick, sorry about that. Also going to get the center flowers on my pink flowers. So we've got those filled in. I'm going to grab a coral pink. I'll fill in the rest of that center flower on my top flower in the middle. And then we're going to layer this coral pink up over the hot pink. Fill it more of like an orangey color. Playing with a darker pink now to build up a darker center on those pink flowers. And grabbing an orange, I'm going to get the little shadow details on my center flower. And then on the more orangey flowers, I can add a little shadow in the middle. Use a red to fill in the centers on my yellow flowers. Yellow to fill in the centers on my pink flowers. After that, we'll add in a few shadows using darker colors, and that'll about do it. Feel free to play around with the colors for the flowers in her hair. As long as they're bright and colorful, you can't go wrong. And that will about do it for our Frida Kahlo picture. Hope you guys had fun and really enjoyed this one. Happy Cinco de Mayo, and we'll see you for the next video.